Guys, hi. My name is Tim. I work as a mortgage broker. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. And I wanted to make this video today to share my experiences of being a mortgage broker and to encourage people who are looking potentially for a career change, or if you're a younger person and you're trying to think what might be something that you can do. I actually think that being a mortgage broker is a great career. Um, just before I jump into the ins and outs of it, something that I thought has been quite funny is I've recently joined Reddit. So I've had a Reddit account for a long time, but I never really logged into it because at first, well, when I first joined up 7 years ago, I didn't actually understand it. I had no idea what I was looking at. I knew it was a forum, but I couldn't really find anything I was interested in. Anyway, gave it a shot again recently, and I've joined a few of the Australian finance subreddits, which has been extremely entertaining. Anyway, the reason why that is connected is because I'm a mortgage broker and I sit there and I can see so much hate towards professionals that work in the real estate industry, whether it be brokers, whether it be real estate agents, whether it be buyers agents. There are so many people who tell their stories about how brokers are just middlemen. They don't really do anything. You could just go to the bank and get a better deal. Why does a broker need to get commission? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I actually have a completely different perspective. And my perspective comes from someone who I didn't do broking straight out of school. I actually trained at university to be a high school teacher. And I decided to get into broking afterwards on the recommendation of a friend who thought that I had a decent mind for business. And he was the one who said, hey, listen, broking is a low barrier to entry. It's a low cost, low overhead business where you can develop some scales, some sales skills. You can build a business. You can make good money. And you don't have to invest a lot of capital. You don't need any really specific knowledge. For people who are starting as brokers, you can sort of get caught up thinking that you need to be good at finance, you need to be really good with money and numbers and all that sort of stuff. But the reality is it is largely, well, to make a lot of money as a mortgage broker, it is largely a sales job. And then there's a component afterwards of knowing about your credit policy, knowing about the different banks, knowing how to look at someone's financials and make a judgment about whether or not they're going to be a client that might potentially be a good customer for a bank. But the thing is, all of that can come. And even if you don't have a strong background in that stuff, like I didn't, I was teaching English. But even if you don't have a strong background in all of that stuff, you can still figure it out. And there are so many brokers in Australia. There's always someone that you can go to for help as well. So don't let that stop you. Anyway, my experiences before I became a broker with brokers has always been positive. When I was a school teacher, I didn't have a clue how to buy my first apartment. And my mum and dad had recently used a broker. My sister used the same guy. And so naturally, I used him too. He came over to our place. He asked me a series of questions. He interviewed me basically. And I actually liked it. I liked sitting there. And I enjoyed the process of someone asking me about my finances because it was probably the first time that I'd actually thought about them. And it's funny. So I'm just going to go on another tangent. But it's funny because I remember when I was a teacher, one of the ways that you could get paid more as a teacher in Sydney or Australia, or I don't know if it's at a national level, but is you can become proficient, which you basically do by collecting evidence and submitting it to the board that monitors teachers, and you get this proficiency and it jumps you up an extra band and you get a bit of extra pay. And I remember teachers like overhearing conversations where teachers were talking about the proficiency and other teachers were like, oh, you should really do this because you get paid extra. And I remember like hearing another teacher say, oh, I don't even look at my pay slips. Like, I don't actually know how much I get paid. And you know what? I think that there's a lot of people out there in that scenario. They don't look at their bank statements. They're not logging into their net bank and checking their transaction and seeing what's coming in and what's going out. And anyway, to tie it back, this broker was asking me all these questions and it really got me thinking. I'd naturally been a bit of a saver because I just grew up in a family of savers. Squirrelers. So it was nothing new to me, but to have everything put in a piece of paper and it's kind of like a scorecard, I actually really liked it. And he was a professional. He got me the loan. I felt like I was going through a process, so I wasn't worried. I remember when I was buying, I was like, "Hey, mate, I know I'm pre-approved and stuff. This is the place that I'm looking at. I want to make X offer. Is that going to be okay?" And he's like, "Yep, yep, go for it. You're ready to go." And it was so nice to have somebody in my corner who I could just call whenever. He always picked up the phone, which I loved as well. And it was just so nice to have someone in my corner that was looking out for me. When it came time to become a broker, I called my guy up and I'm like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about becoming a broker. Do you think it would suit someone like me?" And look, he probably thought in his head, he's like, "Mate, this Muppet's not going to get any deals. He's going to be out of business within 6 months. It's not going to go anywhere." And I wouldn't have been surprised if he had said that, but he was actually really supportive. And I've found to that point that people in the industry are extremely supportive. There's huge networks on Facebook. The PD days are a blast. If you need help, there are so many people that you can go to. Anyway, back to the reasons why I think this is a great business. I'm not going to focus on the specificities of income and how much you can earn and that sort of thing in this video. If you want to know more about that, I'm happy to disclose. I'm happy to go over how brokers get paid with specific details. And I probably will do that in another video. But what I wanted to talk about now is the way that a broker makes income, because it's quite unique. Well, it's not that unique, but it's fairly unique. You earn an upfront commission, which is paid by the banks. So your clients don't have to pay a fee for your service. What's amazing about this is roughly 70% of all Australians at this stage are using a broker, and the service is free. There are not many professionals out there that offer their service for free to the customer. The service isn't free because someone is paying for it, being the bank, but irrespective of which bank you take the loan to, you're getting roughly the same commission. It's baked into one of the bank's costs of doing business. And there's a cost of doing business for the bank, whether you walk in the door at a branch or whether you go through a broker. In fact, it's probably cheaper for banks to have loans introduced to them through the broker channel because they don't have to pay for branches. They don't have to pay for someone's salary who's going to sit there and collect your documents and answer the phone. They don't have to pay for any of those things. So the main components of your income will be what's called your upfront commission. And the upfront commission is basically a percentage of the total loan amount, which is paid to you as an upfront lump sum. That amount can be clawed back if the loan is paid out, refinanced, or closed before some amount of time. It's usually somewhere between 18 and 24 months, and it slides down a little bit if the loan is over 12 months. So that's the upfront commission, and that is the main component of how you get paid. And then in addition to that, and the bit that is quite unique, aside from the fact that we don't charge our clients, well, some brokers do, but most don't. But the next component is your trailing income. And your trailing income, or the trailing income, is a small percentage of the total loan amount that is paid on the outstanding balance of the loan, net of any money that's sitting, for example, in an offset account. The reason why this money is paid is basically, again, because the cost has been removed from the bank to manage and look after the customer. It's in the bank's best interest that a customer stays with them for as long as possible because they make more money the longer you're a customer. So if you're with them for 10 years, if you've got your transaction accounts with them, a credit card with them, that's what banks want. They want you to be part of their ecosystem in as many ways as possible. They want to sell you as many financial products as possible. The trailing income is basically paid to brokers to manage that ongoing relationship and to continue to be a central port of call for the bank's customers. It's not a lot of money, but every customer that you settle their home loan, you'll receive trail. So over time, once you deal 10s, 20s, 30s, Once your loan book becomes worth hundreds of millions of dollars, which if you stick to the business long enough, it will, your trail can become quite significant. Within your first year, depending on what you settle, your trail could be, somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 paid monthly, and annually that would be, 30, 36, $40,000. And then you start the next year with that trail, say that $3,000 per month being paid to you. So like any business, in your first year, there's not a lot of money coming in. You don't really have a base income like you do when you're a PAYG employee. But as a broker, you can start to build up that base. You can start to fund your business's expenses with the trail. You could potentially pay for hires using your trail. You could pay for your software and all the other things using your trail. And then when you start year two, you might start with $3,000 a month. When you start year two, $3,000 a month. When you start year three, that might be $6,000 or $7,000 a month, and so on and so forth. There are websites that you can jump on and you can see brokers who are retiring or they're leaving the industry. You can actually sell these trail books. So you can actually jump online and you can see what people are selling them for. And they basically sell for 3x multiple of their total annual value. So, if you're at $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year, you basically times that by 3, and you'll be selling somewhere between 90 and 110,000, depending on the quality of the book. But the reason why I say that is because you can jump online and you can see that these things are an asset that can be bought and sold. So not only does it pay you an annuity, but it's also an asset that has a multiple which you can sell if you decide to leave the industry. On the other side, you can even buy trail books. So say, for example, you've been in a PAYG job, you're thinking about becoming a broker. You could, for example, borrow money against your property and buy someone's trail book so that when you begin as a broker, you're not going in with zero income. You're actually starting with a little bit of income. And the benefit of this is you have a safety net. So you're essentially trading a lump sum of cash for an ongoing income, but you're not losing that initial upfront sum of cash that you paid, because the book that you bought retains that value. It's not like buying a car and you buy it and then it drops in value. When you buy a trail book, they do diminish in value over time because people pay their loans out. But when you buy a trail book, the value is kept within that trail book. You can grow it. You can make it worth more. You can buy multiple trail books and stick them all together. You could apply some systems and processes to it, some really nice branding. And guess what? You could probably sell it for more than 3 times. So those are the two main ways that brokers are paid. Of course, when you're part of the real estate industry, there's a lot of professionals, there's a lot of different parties that are involved in transacting a property, and there's always opportunities for further referrals. So, you might make a little bit of money referring someone, say, for building insurance. You get a couple of dollars every month for that. You might get a percentage of the premium they pay. You can refer to a conveyancer. You could refer to real estate agents, buyer's agents, all kinds of people. And when you do, you'll often get a cut. So that could be like some supplementary income that you could make as well. I want to wrap this video up by discussing why becoming a mortgage broker was such a great opportunity for me and why I'm really happy that I actually leapt on the opportunity and took it. The main reason is because, well, one, working for yourself doesn't always give you equal flexibility. If you start a cafe and if you need to be there, or for example, if you become a personal trainer and you're doing all of the training, you physically need to be there. With those types of businesses, eventually they could be run under management. You could remove yourself from the picture. But one of the great things about mortgage broking and working in the property industry, where the value of transactions is quite high, is you don't need to do an absolute ton to make a comfortable living. And in another video where I talk about how commissions are calculated and how you get paid, I think that will make itself clear. It's by no means an easy business because there is obviously a lot of competition. There are many brokers in Australia. There's 20,000 roughly brokers in Australia, of which 15,000 are active. So there's a lot of competition. And not only are you in competition with other brokers, but you're also in competition with some of Australia's largest businesses, being banks. So there, everyone's seen it. Banks advertise heavily on TV. They advertise on bus stops. They advertise everywhere. They've got unlimited budgets. So the competition is stiff. But if you can survive your first few years, if you're someone who loves helping people, and if you can develop a service-based mentality, if you can be responsive, if you can be professional, and if you can be driven by the desire to just give an unlimited amount of information, knowing that a lot of the people that you deal with will never settle loans. So if you can deal with that, if you can deal with the frustrations of dealing with banks, etc., then it can be it can be a rewarding, and it can be a very flexible career. A lot of businesses, I imagine there would be an underlying fear in the owner that it could all fall apart at any time. You know, you could just be one mistake away from, you could be one bad dish away from no one coming back to your restaurant, for example, or you could be one injury away from your PT business not working. You could be one bad supplier away from your e-commerce business falling apart, or Facebook or Meta or Instagram, or someone changing their algorithm and your ads no longer work. But because mortgage broking, you still have the capacity to generate personal relationships with people. And if you do a great job, you know, they refer you to their friends, real estate agents will refer you to their customers. Because it's still a very interpersonal business, I see that there's somewhat of a moat. It's by no means perfect. It has its times. It can be extremely frustrating. But for the type of person who does not do well or does not enjoy corporate, they don't mind working in front of a computer. They don't mind being on the phone. They don't mind building relationships and going out and hunting for business. If you're that type of person, it could be a really great and really rewarding career path to get into. If you have any specific questions about the industry or about the role, what it's like to be a broker, that you want me to talk about in a video, leave a comment, send me a message. Happy to do what I can to help. Also, if you're keen, if you're keen on learning the ins and outs of being a mortgage broker, and if you want more information about it, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep posting videos like this, give a little bit of insight into what it's like to work as a broker. And again, if there's anything you want to see specifically, let me know.